You know when you're watching a movie romance and you just think, wow, that's beautiful, but my life is definitely not like that. Well, what if I told you that all that big screen magic is actually built on the exact same small moments that make up a real life connection? We're just not trained to see them. Okay, let's dive into this and figure out how filmmakers turn these everyday gestures into epic feelings. So first, we gotta talk about the myth. For decades, movies have basically taught us that love is all about grand, dramatic, and, let's be honest, pretty expensive gestures. It's totally wired our brains to look for the fireworks. But the real connection, that's usually built in the quiet moments in between. This slide just nails the disconnect, right? On one side, you've got the movie ideal. On the other, the actual reality of a shared life. We're conditioned to expect that big airport chase scene, but real intimacy is so often found in figuring out who's buying the toilet paper, or just the simple comfort of sitting next to each other scrolling on your phones.
And that's the real problem, isn't it? We've been sold this version of love that's super high stakes and high cost. It can make you feel like you're failing if your own relationship doesn't have a blockbuster budget or some kind of dramatic screenplay. But as we're about to see, the science behind what actually makes a relationship satisfying, well, it points somewhere completely different, and it's way more accessible.
This brings us to the world of what are called micro moments. See, research shows over and over again that the health of a long-term relationship isn't really decided by those occasional grand gestures. Nope, it's about the frequency of small positive interactions. These are the things that cost you absolutely nothing but your attention. This quote just gets right to the heart of it. A fancy dinner, that can feel like just a transaction, you know? But 5 minutes of your genuine, undivided attention, that is a conscious choice. That's a real investment, and it has a much, much deeper impact over time. And what's great is that these moments are surprisingly easy to fit into your day. I mean, think about it. A 30-second gesture, a specific compliment. Not just, hey, you look nice, but I really loved how you handled that difficult conversation. Or a 5-minute gesture where you just listen to your partner vent without trying to solve their problem for them. Or a 15-minute walk with no phones. And a daily habit like a hug that lasts for just 6 seconds. Apparently that's long enough to release bonding hormones. These are the actual building blocks. And here are a few more really powerful examples. Just saying thank you for making the coffee. Remembering a tiny detail they mentioned last week and asking them about it. Or noticing they're totally exhausted and just taking over a chore without them even having to ask. These things prove you're paying attention. They prove you're on the same team. You know, remembering stuff is a love language that nobody really talks about. Okay, so we've established that real love is built on these small, quiet moments. But that brings up a really fascinating question when we think about the movies we watch. How on earth do filmmakers take these subtle, tiny feelings and make them feel so huge and emotional up on the screen? This is the big question we're tackling. If the foundation of love is actually pretty simple, why does the movie version feel so incredibly powerful? Well, the answer isn't magic. It's a very specific, very intentional craft, and filmmakers are absolute masters at it. It all comes down to one fundamental rule of filmmaking: show, don't tell. I mean, a character can say, I love you, sure, but a filmmaker can show you that love through a single glance, or specific camera angle, or just the quality of the light in the room. They use images to get the emotion across, and that hits us on a much deeper level than words alone ever could. And they do this with a very specific toolkit. This visual language is anything but accidental. Every single choice they make about lighting, about color, about camera focus, it's all designed to make the audience feel the connection between the characters. So let's open up that toolkit. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty. There are a few key cinematography techniques that filmmakers use over and over again to create that feeling of romance. And once you see them, I promise you are going to start noticing them in almost every romantic scene you watch from now on. First up is soft light. So instead of a harsh, direct light that creates really sharp shadows, cinematographers use what's called diffused light. It wraps gently around the actors, it softens their features, and it creates this amazing atmosphere of safety and warmth. It's basically the visual equivalent of a gentle touch. Next up, there's motivated lighting. This is any light that seems to come from a source you can actually see in the scene. Think a candle on the table, a fireplace, or those beautiful string lights in the background. What this technique does is make the whole romantic mood feel natural and believable, not like it's a movie set. It just pulls you right into their world. So how do they get that perfect, warm glow? A lot of the time, they use something called a CTO, which stands for Color Temperature Orange Gel.
It's literally just a simple plastic filter they put over a light to give it that golden, orangey hue that looks just like candlelight or an old-fashioned light bulb. It is an instant shortcut to a cozy, intimate vibe.
This chart really sums it all up. These lighting choices aren't just technical, they're emotional. They're designed to create a specific response in you. Harsh, cool light feels clinical, disconnected. Soft, warm light feels intimate. And when that warm light is motivated, coming from inside the scene, the feeling becomes authentic. It feels like real romance. So now, let's bring these two worlds together. We've got the micro moments from real-life love, and we've got the cinematographer's toolkit for showing love on screen. The final step is to start seeing our own lives through a filmmaker's eyes, to kind of storyboard our own connections. This table is the perfect translation guide. That 6-second hug in your kitchen, a filmmaker would capture that feeling with a slow zoom in on your faces. That small act of saying thank you for the coffee, that's the exact same feeling created by a warm, soft key light on someone's face. And remembering a small detail about your partner's day, that's the emotional equivalent of a beautiful musical score swelling in the background. At the end of the day, what this all really boils down to is one single idea. Cinematographers don't use money to create warmth and connection on screen. They use focused attention. And in the exact same way, the most powerful currency in any relationship isn't money. It's your attention. And that leaves us with one final question to think about. The beauty of all this movie magic is that it actually reveals a deeper truth about real life. The smallest moments can feel absolutely epic when you're just paying attention. So, what's the scene you're going to create? What's the one small moment that you can light and frame and direct in your own life starting today?